Hello, happy Wednesday. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Lindsey Hall, and I'm an intimacy and empowerment coach. And I specialize in all things relationship based, but particularly divorce, dating, co parenting. And for me, being an intimacy coach means that I love to help people deepen an intimacy with themselves and with others, really own their power and their pleasure, and live a joyful life they absolutely love. So I come on every week and I do these tea break chats. Hello, beautiful. I come to these tea break chats and I talk a little bit about what's been going on in my life lately in the past week, challenges or celebrations or lessons or whatever. And then I answer your questions. And this week I'm going to have to talk even faster than usual because I've left it a little bit later and I'm going to have to go pick up my kids and I do not want to run over and be late for that. So I'm going to talk really briefly the life with Lindsey bit because I've got 3 really good questions this week that I do not want to run out of time for. So, and also you can hear probably that I am a bit bunged up, so I sound funny, and I am unshowered and no makeup because I just got hit with this big massive cold yesterday. Like, it just came on suddenly, and it's the first day of my period, and so honestly I'm just feeling a little bit like this today. So gonna just keep it light on my stuff and go more into your questions because that's where I'm kind of at today, and all of that is okay. We get to just meet the moment and be where we are and not make it anything else. So I'm taking it easy on myself. And actually the taking it easy on myself is the bit that I want to talk to you about this week, because I have had lots of feelings going on this week, lots of thoughts, lots of feelings, lots of uncertainty. Just there's been a bunch in my head, and letting myself feel the feelings and have all those thoughts has been a learning process for me, something that I did not used to do. I've always been all up in my head, but the feelings bit is new to me, and being in touch with all of that and recognizing that I can have quote unquote conflicting thoughts and feelings at the same time, and being able to hold that one part of me feels this and another part of me feels that, and one part thinks this and another part thinks that, and holding all of that at once is a big thing that I have learned in the past few years. Another part that I'm really working on and has come up this week is the fact that you can have all of these thoughts, all of these feelings, and not have to do something with them. So when I say I've had all these conflicting thoughts and feelings, there's been a part of me, gonna lose my phone there. There's been a part of me that's okay, so what does it mean? And what do I have to do about it? Do I have to change this or do that or take this action? And trying to start to go into the so what do I do about it part. And the lesson this week, which is not a new one, but these come up again and again, is you don't necessarily have to do something with every thought, with every feeling. You don't have to. Sometimes the action is not taking an action right now. And that's been where I've been sitting with, what I've been sitting with this week is going, okay, I'm just going to let all these things happen in my head. I'm going to let them be there. I'll notice them. I'll recognize them. And I'm not going to overanalyze them. And I'm not going to try and do something about it. I'm just going to let them be there and let them take up the space that they need to take up. Let the feelings in my body take up the space it needs to take up. And trust that I don't have to action it right now. I will know when the right time is. And recognizing that for me, when I look back, I go, oh yeah, last year in January, I had some of these same thoughts and feelings. That part of it is kind of just feeling heavy in things and feeling like some of the joy and the lightness is gone, and being I want to put more of that in my life. And but then I recognize this from last January too. Maybe January is just a time of the year. Maybe this is the time of the year, the post-holidays, that's still pretty darn dark, even though, we've passed the solstice, but it's still pretty dark in the evenings. Maybe this is the time where I don't make decisions or take big actions. And I talked about that last week as well, in terms of not feeling super resolution-y and New Year vibes, and feeling no, spring will be more of that time for me. It's partially with this too of I don't have to make big changes right now. I can just let these feelings be and notice them. So that's kind of where I'm at. And the image that actually my coach brought to my mind, which I love, is from Willy Wonka, the Chocolate Factory, where he has the old school one, or there's a chocolate bar resizer and it goes from a little chocolate bar to a big chocolate bar, or maybe back again. I can't actually remember it all that well, but the image is that like the particles, like the chocolate bar breaking apart into tons of particles flying through the air and then reforming. Maybe it was going onto the TV screen. It doesn't matter what it was the image was. The particles breaking up, flying through the air, and reforming into another version of the same thing. And that sort of is where I feel like I'm at, is this like the scattered part and all of these parts. And I don't need to force them to form into this solid new thing yet. I can trust that they will. These thoughts will all come together. They will form into whatever they need to form into. But I don't have to force that. Instead, I can focus on what I want to focus on right now is coming back into my body, meeting my body with what it needs. I haven't been listening to it super well. It's, again, with the conflicting time of year, there's a big part of me that wants to just stay in on the couch and never leave my house until it gets warm again. But there's also a part that when I do go out for a walk, I'm like, oh, I needed that fresh air. That was good. And so really coming back into myself and going, so which part, like what needs me the most right now? What do I need? And coming back into my body and grounding myself, trusting that that is going to give me the best foundation for whenever all of these pieces and scattered bits want to solidify again into something. I'll be in the best place to receive that if I've been listening to my body and grounding back into me. Other than that, I can just let all the scattered thoughts and everything else happen. Hey, Lauren. So yeah, that's where I've been at this week and will probably continue to be at for a little while. So with that said, I'm going to jump onto these questions because, like I said, they are good ones this week. This, by the way, is a fizz stick. Arbonne fizz stick, full of energy boost, but without any like caffeine crash or caffeine weird effects that I don't like. You'll have seen these if you've watched my tea break chats. I've been drinking fizz sticks for years now, and when I feel really rubbish, but I have to go pick up my kids and parent this evening, I need an energy boost. Okay, question. First one was, at what point do you know you're ready to get into a relationship and not stuck in needing to be healed first? So this is coming post-divorce, post a pretty nasty divorce, and a pretty nasty custody battle. So again, at what point do you know you're ready to get into a new relationship and not be stuck in needing to be healed first? This is a really good question, and one that I have had from other people, and one that there is no concrete answer to. The only definite thing I can say for sure for everybody, including for you, is you will never be fully healed. That whereas there's like I have reached a conclusion to my healing, and therefore now that I am done with all of this, now I can go forth and be in a relationship with somebody else. That point, that place in time doesn't exist. Healing and growing are a continuous journey. So if you feel like you need to wait until you're done, you're going to be waiting a long time. That said, I do very much believe in doing some healing work, doing some growth, doing a bunch of that on yourself first, because getting into a relationship with other people is challenging. I have often likened dating to, like I did, because I took 2 years from my divorce before I even began to dip my toe into the dating world again. There's no right or wrong timeline for this, but for me, it was 2 years before I was even ready to like dip a toe in. And I did a whole bunch of work on myself and was like, okay, I'm in a pretty good place here. And I started dating and I was like, whoa, it's bringing up all kinds of stuff that like I thought I had healed, I thought I had addressed, I thought I had, whatever, or things that I was like, I didn't even think of that, didn't know that was a thing. So dating very much, it's like it takes your personal development and your growth and your healing sort of from the classroom into the real world. But that's the beauty of it, because there's also a whole bunch of this work that we can't do in isolation, that we can't do on our own. And actually, because we are wired as social creatures, we are wired to be in connection with other people. A lot of the healing takes place in connection with other humans. That's where a lot of the growth happens. So there is no set place where it's like, okay, now is the time to go. It's when you start feeling like, I might be ready to try this. And where you're feeling like, now this is crucial, there's a difference between wanting to be in a relationship in order to be whole, in order to fill a gap in your life, versus I'm good where I'm at, I am happy, and having somebody else here will augment what I've already got, will enhance what I've already got. I'm happy, I am whole, and it would be really fun to have somebody else here with me, to have somebody to share this with, to have the extra hugs, all the other stuff. So rather than looking for somebody else to fill a hole or to do the healing for you, it's I'm good, I've got me, and I would love somebody else to join me on this journey. I would love somebody else to be here with me to share this with. And it's, I hope you can sense those different vibes. So when you start to feel like that's the case, that's probably the right time. And it can be trial and error. Like when I actually, if you had asked me at the time, are you ready to start dating? I still would have said, oh no, I don't think so. No, not ready for that. But I was curious about it. And I just wanted to see, for me, it was like I wanted to see what these dating apps were like. I had never been on one. I just wanted to see what was out there. And then I was like, oh, I'm now on a dating app. Oh, I'm now talking to people. Oh, somebody asked me on a date. I think I want to go on it. And actually, it turns out I was ready. I just didn't know it in my brain. But then, so I went on that first date. We went on a couple dates. It was fun, had a great time. But in my life, logistically, it was still tricky for me. And I knew that we had a big change. So at that point, I was still the primary caregiver. But I knew in a matter of months, we were switching to 50-50. So I was like, you know what? That was fun. But it was also tricky for me babysitter-wise and all that. And I can see in the pretty near term, I'm going to have a lot more time, so I'm going to wait until then. So I then pulled out of the dating world for a few more months and then went back in when logistics changed and I had more free time. And I have since then dipped in and out of dating. I've dated for a while and then pulled out again. So you get to feel into what is best for you. If you go on a date and you're like, oh my God, that was awful. And it turns out I have, a lot more inner work. That's okay. Listen to yourself and trust that. But it's also learning to pull out the discerning, whether it's fear because I haven't done this before and it's a growth edge versus that's still too raw. And that can be tricky, but that's part of this growth as well, is just experimenting and finding out, you can't do all this in isolation. You've got to just give it a try. Go in gently, I always say I don't believe in just cannonballing into the deep end with all this stuff and freaking your nervous system out. Go in at a pace that feels good to you. Give yourself time to regulate. Give your nervous system time to adjust. And then if you need to do some steps back and then go forward again, that's okay. All of it is okay. There's no right or wrong here. So I hope that was helpful. Okay, second question. These questions are too good. Second question is, what is the toughest part of joint custody with my co-parent? Let me take a drink. Okay, so I want to start by saying there are tough parts. Absolutely. There's also good parts. There's a lot of beautiful things in it. I'm not going to do that really annoying thing where I'm like, you asked for the hard part, but let me tell you all the good stuff and try and put a shiny edge on it and just skip over the bad parts, because that would be really annoying, and I am here for the real life stuff. So I will answer your question on the tough parts because they're there. But please let me also assure you that there are upsides to it, lots of upsides too. But the toughest parts. Okay, so some of the toughest parts are not being there for some of the milestones or for some of the things that my kids go through, and having to trust that me missing a certain milestone or me missing an event in their life or whatever it may be doesn't actually harm our relationship in the long run. I have to trust that. Things like, I wasn't... I wasn't there for what did I miss? There was a big one. Now I'm suddenly blanking on it. It can be anything. It can be that the first day of school or the first tooth that gets lost or whatever it may be. You might miss some of those, but there will also be others that you get. And understanding that your co-parent misses some of those events as well. But that can be hard. Not being able to control what happens at the other person's house and really knowing that you do not get to control what happens there. This is hard as hell in some cases. Sometimes it's little things. This weekend, so my youngest daughter Evie has had long flowing hair, like we called her Rapunzel hair. It wasn't quite waist length, but it was darn close. Like she has the most beautiful hair. This weekend, I got a text with a picture of her hair almost shoulder length. I didn't know that was happening. Nobody asked me about it. I was like, oh, my baby. It wasn't her first haircut, but it still shocked me that we went from this long flowing hair to a shoulder length, and I was like, oh, I had no say in that. I didn't know it was coming. It seems like a small thing, a haircut, but it was hard for me. I was like, okay, I'm the mom. Why didn't anybody consult me on that? So that can be a small thing, but other stuff like you might not like what time they put the kids to bed, or what they feed the kids, or how much screen time they give them, or how they discipline them, or what holidays they go on or don't go on, or what clothes they buy for them. You can't do anything about any of that. And that can really suck. Or like the discipline thing, you might not agree with how the other parent is disciplined for something. And I truly think it is undermining and a problem if you go in and try and like circumvent that discipline. If you try and make up for what the other parent did, or if you try and like kind of row it back somehow. Like you're going to have separate parenting and separate discipline and separate rules and boundaries in the different houses. And it is entirely a waste of energy to try and control what happens at the other person's house. It's going to backfire, but that's hard. Anything else? I also don't like feeling like I have to ask for permission sometimes for things. So the fact we have a 50-50 schedule and it's pretty set in stone. We occasionally flex things that help each other out, but for the most part, we stick to our schedule. But if, for example, I wanted to go on a holiday that didn't fit into the schedule that we have, like if I wanted to go on holiday at a different time and needed more days, I have to like ask permission from my co-parent. And if he doesn't want to take the kids for those extra days, I'm kind of out of luck. Now, other people might have family or other people who could watch them. My family lives in Wisconsin, not in England with me. So my options are far more limited in that sense. But for me, there's times when it feels like I have to ask permission from my ex, from my co-parent, and I do not love that either. And then just, sometimes I really miss my kids. There's other times, like I said, there are upsides, and I like having the time to myself. But there's times where I'm like, I just really miss my kids right now and wish they were here. So yeah, like I said, there are other upsides, but I can't pretend that there aren't hard parts too. And that is where we do all this work on ourselves. We learn to regulate our own emotions. We learn to find the stuff that brings us joy, find the stuff that fills us up. You use all of that spare time and you use all the energy and you channel it into yourself and into good things, and it makes a massive difference. But yeah, sometimes it just straight up sucks. Okay, that was that one. I've got just a few minutes left to answer the last one. My opinion on ghosting. I hate ghosting. Hate it, hate it, hate it. It's completely inappropriate. Do not ghost. If you're like, is it okay if I ghost somebody else? No, don't do it. Be part of the anti-ghosting community. If you get ghosted, though, don't take it personally. I think that ghosting is if somebody just drops communication and ghosts you. You just don't hear from them again. I think it's immature. I think it's a sign of not knowing how to communicate. I think it's a sign of avoiding difficult conversations that don't even have to be difficult, mind you. I think it's just being so afraid of difficult conversations that you won't even come anywhere near them. And so to me, that's a sign that there's a lot more inner work to do. So honestly, if somebody ghosts me, I'm like, well, thank you for self-selecting yourself out of this dating process, because I don't want to be with somebody who can't even say, hey, I don't think this is working for me. I didn't feel the connection that I was looking for. Best of luck out there. That's all it takes. And actually I found a really good Instagram page recently, and I now can't remember. I'll see if I can find it again. But it's like about anti-ghosting, and like they screenshotted a bunch of texts that people sent to them of like, and like calling it quits after a few dates or whatever. And the vast majority of the time, the other person was like, yeah, cool, me too. I didn't feel that either. Or, best of luck. People take it well. That's so much better than just not answering. Like, I was thinking, you wouldn't in real life, in face-to-face conversation, like in the middle of a conversation, just walk away from somebody and not speak to them again. Like, you wouldn't dream of that, would you? Like, you wouldn't just be like, bored of this conversation. Like, you would find a way to end the conversation, even if it's not a particularly great one. But like, ghosting doesn't happen face-to-face. To me, texting, messaging is just another form of communication, but communication skills should still be there. So just because it's on text and not face-to-face doesn't mean that manners don't exist. What if this is somebody who you're texting and then you run into them in real life next week? Like, what if suddenly they show up at, I always used to think of it in terms of like, what if they show up for a job interview and I'm interviewing them? Wouldn't that be awkward? Or what if I'm waiting in line behind them at the grocery store? Or I don't know, like, if you're on some sort of dating app, if this is where it's coming from, but maybe it's a different context, I don't know. But like, chances are that they live somewhere near you, or you are in some sort of same circles or something. Like, you could see each other in real life, and how embarrassing would that be? If I'm not willing to have the same conversation face to face, then I shouldn't say it via text, or I shouldn't act that way via text. So, as you can tell, I have strong opinions on ghosting. Really, really, I know it can be hard to end to say, I'm not feeling this connection, or, you can worry about how the other person is. A lot of us have people-pleasing tendencies and are like, oh, I don't want to upset them. But it's the grown-up thing to do. It's the emotionally mature thing to do. It's the high EQ thing to do, emotional intelligence. Like, be comfortable communicating the hard conversations. That is the sign of a mature, good, healthy relationship. So, yeah. If you don't know how, if you're like watching this and you're like, oh my God, but I've been talking to this guy and I don't want to anymore. Or if I'm talking to this girl and we've been on a few dates and I don't know how to end it, send me a message. Absolutely send me a message and I will help you come up with a thing to say to draw a line under it. But do not ghost them. We can talk through it. I promise you, I can get you through this. It will not kill you. But the flip side of that, if this is happening to you, is it's not personal. It's not about you. They're not ghosting you because of something you've done. They're ghosting you because they don't know how to have those conversations. And then it can also be really terrifying. Like, I have accidentally ghosted somebody where just it took me a few days to get back to them. Life happened. By the time I went back to respond, they had blocked me on the app or just unmatched or whatever it was, but I could no longer message them at that point because they cut off the communication. And then I felt really bad because I didn't mean to ghost them. I was just life happened and I was coming back to say something. But I also think that people can end up, like, if they've left it a little bit too long to communicate, then they feel bad and feel shame about it. So then they're like, now I just have to hide forever. But being open to, like, no, I understand, like, life happens sometimes. I accidentally ghost my friends all the time where, like, they'll message me and I forget to message back. It's not because I don't want to be friends with them. It's because life happened. So being understanding in that is really important too. Again, that's part of emotional maturity. Okay, I have more I want to say, but I am pretty much out of time. So I'm going to rapidly wrap up with, I would love to hear what this brought up for you guys. If there's anything more that you want to go into on this, send me a message, leave a comment, send me an email, hello@lindseyhallcoaches.com. Please, let's keep talking. This is a tea break chat. It's to chat together. And particularly on the dating front, on the joint custody front, on all of that, you guys know this is right up my street. It's what I'm here for. So please send me messages. If you want to jump on a coaching call with me, we can absolutely do that. I've got taster sessions available. We can do a one-off coaching session. If you want to possibly look at longer-term coaching, we can jump on a call and I can talk you through the options and see if it's a good fit and kind of, see if we would work well together and give you a picture of what working with me would be like. Also, I have a brand new divorce alter ego quiz, which I would love to share with you. So if you're watching this and you are anywhere in the divorce process, I have made this really fun quiz. I think it's really fun. But what's your divorce alter ego? And it gives you some the related superpower, and it's really all about how can these parts of you that are coming up in the divorce be the thing that leads you to make it a transformational experience, because divorce is a life-changing event, and how it changes you is up to you. So how are you going to take these parts of you and use them to turn your divorce into this amazing, life-changing new start? So if you want that, comment or message me quiz, and I will send you the link for the quiz. I will try and find a way to put the link places. It's in my social media bios. So if you're on my Instagram or my Facebook, Lindsey Hall Coaches, the quiz is in the bios. If you're on YouTube, I'll try and put it in the comments, but also just message me quiz, and I'll send you the quiz. Okay, that was a lot of stuff I threw at you. Basically, send me a message and we can chat, okay? I'd love to get on the call, talk to you about all the things. I need to go get my kids. I will be back here next week. If you have a question, send it to me. Love you lots.